Hi folks, and welcome back to my channel. We've got another video here on Dragon's Prophet, channel G for G, Games for Gamers. Today we're going to take a little bit of a look at a more in-depth look at some of the higher level stuff for Dragon's Prophet, and specifically the things that you can do with dragons. So first thing we're going to want to do, I'm going to go ahead and dismount my flying one, and if you hit P in game, you bring up the dragon screen. This will show you your stable, which is the ones currently out with you, and the ones in your lair, which is essentially your stables, except you cannot do anything with them until you go to a lair manager. So as you can see here, these extra slots will cost Sony cash to unlock them. The price does get progressively higher as you unlock more and more. I did decide to spend a little bit of Sony cash in doing this simply because it's a good way to indulge in hoarding. If you've only got like 3 slots and 3 slots, it's a very tough decision to decide on what dragons you want with you, considering one of your slots is almost always going to be taken up by a flying dragon. So, as your primary means of transportation. So, what we've got over here, when you hit P, you can do a couple things like sorting out your summons and your rideables. You can compare dragons, and you can dismiss them. So I've got my flyer type over here, and he's also pretty good in combat because he's got some rather solid skills, including this heal called Life Reflux. He's just a little bit of a pain to train because for me to put him into my lair and get him trained, that means I don't have my flying mount. It's kind of annoying. This is a horned wingcrawler dragon. He's very similar to a rare that I've got named Parsing Shadow. He gives me this one called Squama Protection, a pretty good spell that I almost always cast on cooldown. Over here we have a bone-masked Ironclaw. I call him like the werewolf dragon. He kind of lopes along, looks like a werewolf. He's a land dragon. We have a rare called Crooked Tooth, and he has one of my favorite spells in the game called Attribute Wheel. This thing is basically like Mark of the Wild from World of Warcraft, except it's random in what it does. So I've cast it, and in taking a look at it over here, this time it affected Ferocity. When this is up in about 30 seconds, if I cast it again, it could go ahead and affect a different skill. Here is Slinking Shadowback Dragon. This is sort of the raptor type. He's a very fast ground mount, and he has a nice little ability called Life Calling. So I have my potions as a heal, and I have his ability as a heal too. So now if we hit Attribute Wheel again, we'll notice that we got Strength this time, so that's pretty good. With me over here is my friend Uri. We can take a look at her dragon over here. This was a rare that she got. Pretty cool looking dragon. Sort of looks very lizardy. And for your dragons, you have about 3 different armor slots on them. You have the saddle, which you can see here is this bluishy purple one, and then you have leg or wing armor, which is this. If we take a look at it on my flyer, you'll notice it's a little hard to see. Over here on the horn, you've got the saddle, and it's hard to see his wing armor there. There's his wing armor. There's Crooked Tooth, there's his wing armor over there, there's his saddle. So, now let's go ahead and jump into what you can actually do with the Lair Manager. The Lair Manager will show up on your map as a green egg sitting in a nest. Most towns have them if they're big enough. The starting town in this area does not. So here are the ones currently in my lair. We've got Bloodfin, who is also a rare. He's an aqua dragon like Crooked Tooth. We've got Swift Marsh Jumper. He's been surviving the cut simply because of all these slots. So he can absorb a bunch of spells, but more on that in a little bit. He also has another protection spell, which sort of makes it so that if I got a bunch of mobs, my dragon takes over. Get some of them. This is a stubborn kettleback. This is a giant bantha-looking thing from Star Wars. You can see his saddle's rather hysterical, and there's his wing armor. He's a giant tank, and he has Dragon Soul Agility. This is a nice little buff as it affects the group. He also has tough skin. And you have Parsing Shadow. This is an event rare that I got towards the beginning of the game. He is the coolest glider that I've come across. He glides forever. This guy, if you give him a little bit of a hill, he can just sit there and glide for quite a long time. He has Taunt, which actually means that I do the taunting, not the dragon, which is a little weird. Blood Seal of Light. It's essentially like a life tap. It smacks the dragon and gives his life to me. He has Replacement, which is basically like a Warlock portal in WoW. Me and the dragon switch places. And this is a raptor type, similar to this guy, as you can see, slightly different. So now, when you're in the dragon stables, there's a couple things you can do. If you go to, we'll skip dragon process now, dragon training. Just like you get skill points, and the dragon has skill points. When you go through and train him, like over here, this guy has 12. So we're going to bump up his strength, and as you get higher in the web, the things take more of that. So that little bump up took 7. And let's make him live a little bit longer. Alright, so there we go. 2 clicks just took out 12 points. My Kettle Dragon, he's a tank, so I'm going to give him some Constitution. And now I can't cast anymore for him. My Parsing Shadow, he's leveled up a little bit too. Give him a Strength and a Ferocity, and can't give him a Focus. Okay. Field training. This is sort of like a Pokemon aspect of the game. Anybody who is in your lair can conduct what's called field training. You put a dragon that you want to have learned something in the first slot. So we'll take Swift Marsh Jumper. You put what you want him to learn in the second slot. So, okay, Dragon's Gift. Can any of my tanks have room for Dragon's Gift? No, but this guy might. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of a swap here. I'm going to go and take the Swift Marsh Jumper. And, let's see, was it this guy? Okay, it was this guy. I'm going to take his little brother-looking one. And now you'll see here, Swift Marsh Jumper has a chance to learn these things, including Dragon's Gift. You can trade 3 times per day in a free, so he learned it. I got really lucky on this one. He learned Dragon's Gift from this slinking Shadowback dragon. And so that's all that I want to do there. You can't learn purple abilities, which kind of sucks. See, does anybody else have a decent buff? Yes, it will increase the pet strength. Yes, this is pretty decent. So, we're going to go ahead and swap out those two. We're going to go back to field training. And we're going to leave him in the first slot. We're going to move him to the second. Actually, Crooked Tooth has a chance to learn. Yes, okay. So we didn't get lucky this time. We just gained experience. And again, alright, so we got lucky 1 out of the 3 times today. So we're going to move him back over here because I want Life Calling and Attribute Wheel. Let's see, you have increasing the character. Yeah, I'll leave that. Now, the other thing you can do is lair storage. This is where you've got some food. Lair journal, which is like a combat log of what you've done. Dragon process. Alright, so for dragon process, you can have them do stuff for you like fetch ore, herbs, wood, leather, cloth, and hunting, which is meat. This is all your crafting stuff. You can simply skill them up, or you can train them in their abilities but not their purples. So for this one, I'm taking Bloodfin and I'm going to try to bump up his power on this Dragon Affinity buff. Then you select the hours. 1 to 5 is free. After that you start using station cash. And you click add. So now he's essentially off at Dragon School while you're running around. Alright, this dude over here, let's see if he's got any abilities I want him to learn. Dragon's Gift, let's bump up his Dragon's Gift. Let's give it 5 hours. There you go. This guy had my heal. So, let's get him back. Because he has a heal that I'm going to need because I'm going to go into a dungeon. We are just going to straight level this guy. And since he's high enough, he can actually learn the second level of training. Jumps up to about 3k for gold. Here is my Parsing Shadow. Unfortunately, you can't train them in their purple skills. And let's give him, let's see, Shattering Strike, yes. Okay, so now all the ones in my lair are now doing stuff, and I'll walk you through some of my summons over here. If you hit tilde, they get summoned as a combat pet. Their time that they're out depends upon your charisma. The higher your charisma, the longer the dragons will stay out. So as you can see, 7 minutes for him. Here is a glider, but this is not Parsing Shadow, if I remember correctly. And if you hit tab, you go ahead and mount them. See, there's a backwards glide. Here is my Raptor. This guy's pretty speedy ground mount. And you can find out information by moving your mouse over him. And when you hit tab, if you take a look over here, you'll see that my running speed is 180. Oddly enough, Alt F4 is a summon, but it doesn't close the game. This is Crooked Tooth. Thinks I'm in combat for some reason here. So there's Crooked Tooth. And this is the Star Wars Bantha looking one. It's rather hysterical to ride these things because you ride way up on that platform and just looks kind of funny. So if you hit tilde or their summon key again, they'll go ahead and disappear. So that's a little bit more in-depth look on the dragon-related items here in Dragon Prophets. We've gone through summoning them, gone through writing them, what you can do in the lair, what you can do in your stable. Also, from here, you can drag their abilities off. There's another way of doing it. If you hit K and go to Dragon Skills, you can drag it over here. There's Life Calling, which is my heal. So, anytime you cast a dragon spell, it uses your orange bar, which is a tertiary resource. I have blue, which is kind of like rage, and then I have the dragon bar over here. And if you notice, I'll go ahead and hit Attribute Wheel, and it will shrink. Unfortunately, messing around with your dragon abilities resets it to 0. Don't know why it drains it all like that, but... And we'll do Dragon Soul Agility, which is a party buff. Anything with the claw on my bar comes from a dragon. So, there you go. There's a little bit about the Dragon's Lair. The stables, riding, and mounting them. Also using them as combat pets. And here we have a flute. A flute basically summons a rare dragon. And what people attempt to do is beat it within an inch of his life and then try to tame it. So, hope you enjoyed this other video here on Dragon's Prophet, and maybe soon we'll get some dungeon videos going on. Take care, everybody, and check you later on Games for Gamers.